All right. Divine rising. Everybody, mute this. All right. So let me see. Hope everybody having a great day, great morning. Let me say, not say day. They just barely got started hours ago. So hope you have a divine morning so far, right? Hope your morning is divine so far. Let me see, make sure I got everything moving as it should. Let me start over pretty quick. Oh yeah. All right, all right. Everything's moving and grooving. Now let me pull me up right quick. Y'all know my little routine. Let me go ahead and let me see. Hope everybody let me go ahead and share this to my pages, to the story, to I wonder why it catches me in the oddest positions. But anyway, uh on the all right, let's see. Y'all, if you are tuning in with me right now, let me know where you're tuning in from. While I go ahead and get these shared out real quick. I'm telling you, I have to come up with a like a auto share. I just pull it up and the automatic share. Y'all, I am so humbly excited about finally got my website completed. Got to make some adjustments to it, to the link anyway. But as far as the site, it is live and it can be found on my bio in the link section. Um, I know people say people don't want to go and look where the link actually is because people want immediate access. We microwave people, as they say. We want it right now, and I get that. But I look for the people who don't mind taking their time. I don't move with urgency or anything like that. So I'm grateful for those who don't move with urgency. We take our time, get things done. A little bit at a time, and then after that, it compounds over time. As we say, a little bit of repeated actions compound over time. And so, again, I'm gonna, if you have not read the title of today's conversation, this morning's conversation, it's not everything you say no to is a boundary. And and to get into the description, you can read it on your own time, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna take my time with this as I always do. I have really no place to be, but maybe people to talk to. But anyway, um, so yesterday we began our conversation about boundaries, right? And by bringing the focus inward. Before asking whether someone else will respect a boundary, we ask whether we are willing to honor what we already recognize about ourselves. And so today we go deeper because every no is not necessarily a boundary. Sometimes we are responding to discomfort, sometimes we are reacting to a moment, sometimes an old belief is speaking, and sometimes we may be trying to use a boundary to control an outcome that does not belong to us, right? And so this morning on Quiet Queens Morning Live, we're talking about the discomfort, a discernment required to recognize the difference. A healthy boundary doesn't begin with controlling someone else. It begins with clarity about your values, your responsibility, and your choices. And so, with Quiet Queens Academy, we do not build louder, we build clearer, right? And so, let's go ahead and get into this topic on this morning. And so, if you did not catch the live on this day, okay, so for this week, the theme is boundaries. So we're going to be talking about boundaries throughout this week, right? And each day, it will be, related to boundaries with a different topic. Okay, so but let's get into this. Get into this morning's live. So divine rising quiet queens. So yesterday we started this week's conversation with boundaries, as I was just stated, and we started somewhere that I think is important, not with what somebody else needs to stop doing. We started with ourselves. What what am I recognizing? What matters to me? What am I willing to honor? But today I want to add another layer because just because I don't like something doesn't automatically make it a boundary, right? And just because something makes me uncomfortable doesn't necessarily mean it needs to leave my life. And just because I call something a boundary doesn't automatically mean I'm operating from clarity. Sometimes I need to sit with myself long enough to understand what is actually driving this decision. And so, from me, the founder, I've learned that discernment requires me to be willing to examine myself too. It's easy to look at a situation and say, this doesn't align with me. But I think there's value in asking myself why. It's is this actually outside my values? Am I responding to something happening right now? Am I carrying an old belief into a new situation? Am I simply uncomfortable because something is requiring me to grow? Or am I trying to make another person behave differently so that I don't have to make a decision about what I will do? Those questions doesn't weaken a boundary. For me, they help me clarify whether the boundary actually belongs there, right? So we're gonna get into the core of this conversation. Got about maybe 3 to 4 points, and then we're gonna come to a close. And like I said, I really appreciate you know you all hopping on the call and spending a little time of your morning with me. So we're gonna get into these questions, and I always say this, and you can do it. It's no pressure because this is a no pressure zone, no judgment zone, no none of that zone, right? So if you would like to join me live, and I only put it in a couple places. I didn't put it on YouTube today, and I didn't put it on Instagram, and I didn't add it to my Quiet Queens Academy. Um, the academy. I didn't add it over there as well. But if you'd like to join me live in this conversation, you can simply hit the link in either the Facebook profiles comment section. Live with me is meeting meetn.com/Quiet Queens Builder Lab. If you click that, I will get the notification over here and I will bring you on live with me. And you don't have to have a app or anything like that. You can do it from your phone. You just got to if you want to be on video, show your video. If you don't, just make sure you have your audio. Excuse me. Make sure you have your audio available so that you can do it in on the conversation. So it doesn't require you to be on camera. All right. Um, and it's one thing I love about this platform that I have. I mean, if I have to say that was one of the best investments that I I did, that was one of the best investments that I did do. But anyway, like I said, let's get in the core of this conversation. And if you join me, click the link in on the profiles comment section in this live. All right. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is discomfort and misalignment are not always the same thing, right? So sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, something can be uncomfortable and still be aligned, right? So growth can be uncomfortable. I mean, growth has pain, and I'm thought, and I'm gonna take it to, me working out. I mean, it's causing some pain. I mean, my body be sore. I mean, but it's good pain. I mean, it's uncomfortable, but I'm growing. And my body is going through the things that it needs to go through, or or is going through. Not it's like it needs to go through. It's going through the things that it's going to go through, right? In order for it to grow and develop, the muscles toning, whatever. But I mean, it's happening, right? And so, in an honest conversation, let's get back to it. So, an honest conversation can be uncomfortable. How many times have you had an honest conversation that was uncomfortable? And I believe that me myself, we really have an uncomfortable conversation here a little bit. But the conversation, in my perspective, must be had. All right, because it affects a lot of other people. So, and what's happening with what's going on. So um, an honest conversation can be uncomfortable, and saying no can be uncomfortable. How many times that you did not want to say no, but you said no anyway, right? And it was uncomfortable because you really, you say you really truly wanted to really help that person, or that, or it more or less like you saying no to a person. Especially like, when people call you in sales, they trying to sell you something. So you want to help them, but the no, it's the no. Some people feel uncomfortable saying no to salespeople. I don't know what it is, but I don't have a problem with saying no. I'll say no. But it hasn't always been that way. It hasn't always been that I would say no. I was always the yes girl, but I'm the no girl now when it's aligned, right? So, um, So hearing no can be uncomfortable. So even hearing no can be uncomfortable. I mean, but even in that, I have learned and have gotten okay with hearing no because as we know, no is a whole statement. It doesn't require explanation. It is no. No. Say it to yourself. No. Anyway, so learning something new can be uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, learning something new be uncomfortable. And for me, if I'm learning something new, and if I'm like going through a course or something like that, and especially if you get access to everything and you can see everything, it totally becomes uncomfortable. Or even seeing how many modules or how many lessons I have to go through to get to the end of that, and it's like I cannot bypass because it only unlocks when I first task or the lesson before, and that can be uncomfortable. It's crazy that I did that on my on my courses too. I mean, because I want people to know get the information and not rush through it. So sometimes learning something new can be uncomfortable because the thing is, it can become overwhelming, right? So if discomfort automatically becomes our evidence that something is wrong, we may remove ourselves from situations that we're actually asking us to go, asking us to grow. So the question isn't simply, does this make me uncomfortable? Ask this question here. What is this discomfort telling me? What is this discomfort telling me, right? So ask a different question. Not does this make me uncomfortable, but what is this discomfort telling me, right? So we're going to tap into the next thing of this core of the conversation is reactions and discernments move differently. Those are two different things. Reaction and discernment moves differently. And so a reaction often wants immediate movement. Ah, a reaction often wants immediate movement. Not saying that it always do, it often does. Often, I guess always, most times. Something happens, emotions rises, right? And we want to make a decision right now. And so let's look at discernment. It gives us room. So when we discern something, it doesn't require us to react immediately. It gives us room. And that doesn't mean ignoring what happened. It means creating enough internal space to understand what happened before deciding what it means, right? And sometimes the most aligned response is immediate, and sometimes it isn't. And so, White Queen Authority doesn't require us to manufacture certainty simply because a decision is uncomfortable. The teaching framework specifically instructs clarity and discernment to separate truth, noise, impose conditions and alignment without manufacturing certainty. And basically here, when I talk about the teaching framework, this is a framework that is surrounded around Quiet Queens Academy. It's an official teaching framework that it doesn't allow me to break what I talk about. And I'm free to talk about what I want to, but these are things that I've put in place for myself, right? So anyway, let's get back to I didn't have to explain, but I thought if you wanted to know what are you talking about when you talk about the teaching framework? Well, that's what I'm talking about. So uh so the third thing, a boundary and an attempt to control are not the same thing. So this connects directly to yesterday. So if you was with me on yesterday, you know what we talked about. That was the beginning of boundaries. Talk about what we honor, right? And so you are not allowed to do that. And if that happens, if I know how I will respond. So one attempts to control another person's choice. The other establishes responsibility for your own. You can communicate what works for you, right? You can communicate what doesn't. You can make requests, you can make decisions, but another person still gets to decide what they will do. And then you get to decide what you will do with that information, right? And so that preserves agency on both sides, which is consistent with the Black Queen's doctrine of consent, dignity, and personal responsibility. And again, that's another doctrine of mine, right? So, number four, an aligned boundary should connect something you can identify. So if you're unsure whether something is actually a boundary, ask, what am I protecting or honoring? A value, your time, your energy, a responsibility? You're able to remain aligned with something you've consciously chosen. And if you cannot identify what the boundary is serving, you may need more clarity before deciding what action belongs there, right? And that doesn't mean the answer is no, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Not every no is a boundary. It means you are giving yourself room to know why you're choosing. And that is discernment, my friend. Okay. And so let me give you a little something that you can reflect on. And if you choose to engage, great. If you're tuning in live or you are just watching a replay, that's fine. You can still engage on this reflective, okay? And so think about one boundary you are considering right now. You don't have to tell anybody what it is, just examine it and ask yourself, is this coming from something I value? Am I reacting to one moment? Am I trying to control somebody else's decision? Am I avoiding something that actually needs a conversation? Or have I become clear that this is something I generally need to don't rush the answer, okay? The purpose of the question is clarity. So you got to get clear on what you are considering that one boundary. So don't rush. Because the whole idea is you want to get clear on that. All right. And then I have one practical takeaway for you on this morning. So the boundary discernment check. All right. So before establishing or changing a boundary, ask yourself three questions. Three, right? Three questions. The first one would be, what am I actually trying to honor? Identify the value, responsibility, time, energy, or principles underneath it, right? And number two, what part of this decision belongs to me? So you separate your choices from the other person's choices, right? And number three, if the other person never agrees with this, Am I still willing to honor my part? Are you still willing to honor your part? Okay? A boundary becomes clear when it does not depend entirely on someone else's cooperation to exist, right? I know this, like, these topics, I believe they are necessary. And the reason I say that I believe they are necessary because the thing is, when you are in business, in relationships, things like that, um, it is important to have boundaries. I mean, let me go back. Self-trust and boundaries in place. It is important because the thing is, like I said, it's not so much for the other person, it's so much more for you. And so the thing is, so you'll know how to navigate in any situation, in business, relationships. I mean, when you think about business relationship, it all comes together. You want to be able to have that self-trust, trust yourself, have boundaries for yourself. And the thing is, and as I always say, whatever you work on inwardly is going to reflect outwardly. So the thing is it happens internally before it's ever external. So the thing is, whatever you got internally going on with you right now, it's going to be external. It's going to project externally. So whether that be, and like I said, I really don't activate duality, but whether it's good or bad, in some people's perspective, it is what it is, and that's what's going to project outwardly, right? And so, in closing, Black queens, hear me. Boundaries require more than knowing how to say no. Let me say that again. Boundaries require more than knowing how to say no because we all know how to say no to a lot of things. And sometimes we don't know how to say no, but boundaries require more than knowing how to say no. They require knowing why you say no, right? And yesterday, recognize what we are willing to honor, right? In our boundaries, right? And so today we're learning to examine what sits underneath that decision. Because I don't want every I don't want every uncomfortable moment deciding my boundaries for me. Because I'm uncomfortable, I'm gonna set this boundary because it don't feel good. I'm gonna put a boundary right there because and this is crazy. You made me feel a certain way. No, you felt a certain way because no one can make you feel uncomfortable, but yet you can feel uncomfortable in certain situations. And that uncomfortability comes basically from you. And the thing is, and that you have to decide at that moment, decide my boundaries are for me. And so, I mean, you have to make the decision because like I said, I don't want every uncomfortable moment deciding my boundaries for me. So you have to decide that boundary and know why, right? And I don't want somebody else's behavior controlling, there it is right there, controlling all of my choices either. So whatever another person's behavior is, it should not control the choice that you make. And again, that's when sometimes the boundaries go up because of another person's choice. I mean, but it's not yours. It's not your behavior because that's their behavior, right? And so I want to understand what I value. I want to recognize what belongs to me. I want to respect what belongs to somebody else. And then I make a conscious decision about how I move, right? And that is the difference clarity makes. So we don't build louder, we build clearer. And sometimes getting clear means giving yourself enough room to examine a decision before you make it, right? And so that, my friends, conclude the um, Quiet Queens Morning Live. And I want to thank you again for, spending your morning with me. And I will see you on tomorrow with another segment of boundaries. All right. So again, y'all have a divine day and we'll see you.